The iron gate crashed shut with a sound that echoed through the quiet suburban street. Maya Foster stumbled backward, her worn backpack sliding off her shoulder. In her trembling hands, she still held the empty container that had contained her dinner, pasta she'd just given to a stranger. "Don't you dare come back here." Uncle Richard's voice boomed from behind the locked gate. Aunt Patricia stood beside him, arms crossed, her face twisted in disgust. Maya's legs shook. Tears blurred her vision as she looked at the only home she'd known since her parents died in that car crash 3 years ago. The porch light, the one her father had installed, flickered once, then went dark. Down the street, a figure moved in the shadows. The homeless man she'd fed was still there, watching with concerned eyes. The paper container sat carefully placed on the ground beside him, as if it were precious. "I'm sorry," Maya whispered to no one. "I'm so sorry." The evening air felt heavy. A car passed slowly, its headlights sweeping across her face. She was 17 years old, with nowhere to sleep and less than $20 in her pocket. That was the moment everything in Maya's life shattered. But it was also the moment everything began to change. Behind her, footsteps approached. Soft, deliberate. "Maya," a calm voice said. She turned. The homeless man stood there, no longer hunched over. His posture had changed. His eyes, previously downcast, now held a strange intensity. "Do you trust me?" he asked. Before Maya could answer, headlights flooded the street. Not one car. 3. Sleek black vehicles that looked like they belonged to someone important. Maya's heart pounded. Nothing made sense. The homeless man reached into his pocket and pulled out a phone. Not a cheap phone, but something expensive and new. "Sir," a driver said, stepping out of the first car. "We're ready." Maya's world tilted. She looked at the man in the tattered coat, then at the luxury cars, then back at him. "Who are you?" she whispered. The man smiled sadly. Someone who needed to see if kindness still existed in this world. He paused. "You passed a test you didn't know you were taking." Behind them, the gate rattled. Uncle Richard had seen the cars, his face pressed against the bars, eyes wide with confusion and sudden fear. "Maya," he shouted. "Wait, let's talk about this." But Maya wasn't listening anymore. The stranger extended his hand toward her. "Your life is about to change," he said quietly. "The only question is, are you brave enough to let it?" Maya stared at his outstretched hand. Her backpack felt heavy. Her future felt uncertain. But something in his eyes, something honest and true, made her decision. She reached out and placed her hand in his. Welcome to African Tales. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And most important thing, turn your notification bell so you can get informed when I dropped another amazing story. Drop your thoughts and reactions in the comments. What would you do if your spouse tried to kill you and you survive? Will you take a revenge or disappear forever? 6 hours earlier, the morning had started like every other morning in Maya's life, with someone telling her she wasn't good enough. "Maya, these dishes are still dirty." Aunt Patricia's voice cut through the small kitchen like a blade. "Do I have to do everything myself?" Maya stood at the sink, her hands red and pruned from the hot water. She'd been washing dishes for an hour, after cooking breakfast for her aunt and uncle, after sweeping the entire house, after laying out Uncle Richard's work clothes. "Sorry, Aunt Patricia," Maya said softly. Her voice never rose. It couldn't. Not in this house. 3 years ago, when the police officer knocked on her door to tell her that her parents had died in a highway accident, Maya had thought that was the worst day of her life. She was wrong. The worst days came after, when Uncle Richard and Aunt Patricia moved into her family's house, claiming they were there to help her. But help came with a price. And that price was her freedom, her dignity, and slowly, her hope. "You're 17 years old and still useless," Aunt Patricia continued, inspecting a glass Maya had just washed. "Your mother spoiled you. That's why you can't do anything right." Maya bit her lip. Her mother's voice echoed her memory. "Baby, no matter how hard life gets, stay kind. Kindness always comes back to you." But standing in this kitchen, with her aunt's cruel words raining down on her, Maya wondered if her mother had been wrong. Still, she kept washing dishes, kept her head down, kept surviving. Later that afternoon, Maya sat in her tiny room, really just a converted storage space under the stairs, working on her laptop. The old computer was a gift from her father before he died. It barely worked, but it was enough for her to practice graphic design. Design was her escape. When she created logos, posters, and digital art, she forgot about the chores, the insults, the feeling of being trapped. Her online portfolio had started gaining attention. Small businesses were reaching out. Nothing big yet, but it was something. Hope, maybe. A notification popped up on her screen. New message from Atlanta Design Collective. Maya's heart jumped. This was one of the most prestigious design groups in the city. She clicked. Dear Maya, we've reviewed your portfolio. We'd like to invite you to interview for our Junior Designer Apprenticeship Program. This is a paid position with mentorship opportunities. Maya had to read it 3 times to believe it was real. Her hands shook. This was everything she dreamed of. A real chance. A real future. She wanted to run downstairs and tell someone. But who? Uncle Richard would say she was wasting time. Aunt Patricia would find a way to make it about her own disappointments. So Maya sat alone in her small room and cried happy tears in silence. That evening, as she prepared dinner, Maya's mind was still spinning with possibilities. She cooked pasta, enough for her aunt and uncle, with a small portion left for herself. As she stirred the pot, she heard it. A gentle knock at the back door. Hesitant, almost apologetic, Maya wiped her hands and walked to the door. Through the screen, she saw him, a thin man in a dirty coat, weathered face, eyes that looked tired in a way that went beyond just physical exhaustion. I'm sorry to bother you, miss, the man said, his voice raspy. I haven't eaten in 2 days. Do you have any food you could spare? Anything at all. Maya looked at the pot of pasta. She looked at the small container she'd set aside for herself. Her stomach was already growling. She'd only eaten a piece of toast for lunch. Her mother's voice. Kindness always comes back to you. Yes, Maya heard herself say. Wait here. She went back to the kitchen, scooped her portion into a container, added some bread, and grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge. As she walked back to the door, Aunt Patricia appeared in the hallway. What are you doing? Her aunt demanded. Just giving away some leftovers, Maya said. Leftovers? Aunt Patricia pushed past her and looked at the container. That's your dinner. You're giving away your own food. He's hungry, Maya said simply. Aunt Patricia's face turned red. You stupid, stupid girl. And you wonder why your life is like this. But Maya had already opened the door and handed the container to the homeless man. God bless you, he said, his eyes suddenly very sharp, very focused. I won't forget this. Maya barely had time to close the back door before Aunt Patricia was screaming. Richard, come see what your niece just did. Uncle Richard appeared from the living room, newspaper in hand, annoyance already etched on his face. What now? She gave away food to some homeless man. Food from MY Kitchen. Maya stood frozen. Her heart pounded. She knew this wouldn't end well, but she hadn't expected the rage that followed. Uncle Richard's face darkened. He walked slowly toward Maya, each step deliberate. You did what? He was hungry, Maya said, her voice barely above a whisper. I just gave him my portion. Your portion? Uncle Richard laughed, but there was no humor in it. Nothing in this house is your portion. Everything here belongs to me. This is MY house. It was my parents' house, Maya said before she could stop herself. The words hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Uncle Richard's hand shot out and grabbed Maya's arm. What did you just say? I'm sorry, Maya stammered. I didn't mean. No. Uncle Richard said, his grip tightening. You think this is still your house? Your parents are dead, Maya. They're gone, and they left you to me. This is my house now. My food, my electricity, my charity keeping you alive. Tears streamed down Maya's face. I just wanted to help someone. Help someone. Aunt Patricia spat. When have you ever helped yourself? You walk around here like a ghost, doing the bare minimum, wasting time on that stupid computer. It's not stupid. Maya's voice rose for the first time in 3 years. I got accepted. I got accepted to the design apprenticeship. I can start earning money. I can contribute more. You got accepted? Uncle Richard's eyes narrowed. To what? The Atlanta Design Collective. They want to interview me for a paid apprenticeship. It's a real job. Uncle Richard released her arm and laughed. Actually laughed. You? A designer? Maya, look at yourself. You can barely wash dishes properly. You think some fancy company wants you. They reviewed my portfolio, Maya said, voice shaking. They saw my work. They think I'm talented. Talented? Aunt Patricia repeated mockingly. Listen to her, Richard. Talented. Uncle Richard's expression changed. Something darker crossed his face. Where would you go every day for this job? Downtown. The office is near. Who would cook my meals? He interrupted. Who would clean this house? Who would do the laundry, the shopping, the yard work? Maya's stomach dropped. She understood now. This wasn't about her future. It was about their convenience. I could still do chores, Maya said desperately. I could wake up earlier, stay up later. No, Uncle Richard said flatly. You're not going. But I said no. His voice boomed through the house. You live under my roof. You follow my rules. You will stay here, do your chores, and stop filling your head with these ridiculous dreams. Maya felt something inside her crack. Not break, crack. Like ice just before it shatters completely. My parents, she said slowly, would be ashamed of you. The silence that followed was deafening. Uncle Richard's face turned purple. Get out. What? Maya whispered. I said get out. He grabbed her backpack from the hook by the door and threw it at her. You want to be independent? You want to make your own choices? Fine. Get out of my house. Richard, Aunt Patricia started, but there was a gleam in her eye that said she wasn't really objecting. No, Uncle Richard said, stomping toward Maya's small room. She wants to disrespect me? She's done. He emerged moments later with an armful of Maya's clothes and threw them into her backpack. Her sketchbooks, her chargers, all of it shoved carelessly into the bag. Uncle Richard, please, Maya begged. I have nowhere to go. I don't have money. Should have thought about that before you fed a stranger with MY food, he snarled. He grabbed Maya's arm, dragged her to the front gate, and shoved her out onto the sidewalk. Her backpack followed, landing in the dirt. Please, Maya cried. I'm sorry. I'll do better. The gate slammed shut. The lock clicked. Through the bars, Maya saw Aunt Patricia standing beside her husband, arms folded, a satisfied smile on her face. Maybe this will teach you some respect, Uncle Richard said. Then he turned and walked back into the house. The porch light went dark. Maya stood alone on the street, the evening growing darker, with nowhere to go and no one to call. Somewhere behind her, she heard footsteps. Maya, a voice said gently. She turned. The homeless man stood there, but something about him had changed. He stood straighter. His eyes were clearer. I'm so sorry, he said. This is my fault. Maya stared at the homeless man, confusion mixing with her desperation. Your fault? You just asked for food. This isn't. My name isn't John, the man interrupted, pulling off the dirty baseball cap he'd been wearing. My name is David Chun. Maya blinked. I don't understand. David reached into his coat and pulled out his phone, the expensive one she'd glimpsed earlier. He tapped the screen and held it up for her to see. It was a news article. The headline read, Tech entrepreneur David Chun takes a step back from public eye. The photo showed the same man standing before her, but cleaned up, wearing a suit, standing in front of a glass building with Chun Technologies emblazoned across it. Maya's legs felt weak. You're David Chun? David Chun. David nodded. Yes. But why? Maya looked down at his dirty clothes, the worn shoes. Why were you pretending to be homeless? David's expression grew solemn. 5 years ago, I was on top of the world. Young, successful, rich beyond measure. But I noticed something. The more money I made, the fewer genuine people I met. Everyone wanted something. Everyone had an angle. He paused, looking at the house behind the gate where Maya had just been thrown out. I started wondering if anyone would help me if I had nothing. If anyone still possessed real kindness. So once a month, I disguise myself and walk the streets. Most people ignore me. Some are cruel. Very, very few actually help. Maya's mind reeled. So this was a test. Not a test for you specifically, David said. I had no idea who you were until you opened that door. But yes, I was testing humanity. And you, he smiled, you restored my faith. But I got kicked out because of it. Maya's voice cracked. I have nowhere to go. I know, David said quietly. And that's why I'm here. I watched what happened through the gate. I heard everything. His jaw tightened. Your uncle is a cruel man. He's all I have, Maya whispered. No, David said firmly. He's not. Before Maya could respond, the 3 black cars she'd seen earlier pulled up to the curb. Drivers in professional attire stepped out. One of them approached David and bowed slightly. Mr. Chun, we're ready when you are, sir. Maya felt like she was in a dream, or a nightmare. She couldn't tell which. David turned to her. Maya Foster, I know this is overwhelming, but I want to make you an offer. An offer? Come with me. I'll provide you with a place to stay, help you finish school, and support your design career. In exchange, I ask only one thing, that you stay true to the kindness you showed me today. Maya's throat tightened. Why? Why would you do this for a stranger? David's eyes grew distant. Because 15 years ago, when I was starting my company, I was sleeping in my car. I was broke, scared, and hungry. A woman I'd never met saw me sitting outside a grocery store and brought me a full meal. She didn't know who I was. She just saw someone in need. He looked directly at Maya. I never got her name. I never got to thank her properly. By the time I tried to find her, she'd passed away from cancer. I've spent years trying to honor her memory by recognizing people like her. People like you. Tears rolled down Maya's cheeks. I don't know what to say. Say yes, David said simply. Unless you'd rather stay here and hope your uncle changes his mind? Maya looked back at the dark house, at the gate that had locked her out, at the family that had never really wanted her. Then she looked at David Chun, billionaire, stranger, someone who valued the one thing she had left, her kindness. Yes, Maya whispered. Then louder, yes. David smiled and gestured toward the open car door. Then let's get you somewhere safe. As Maya climbed into the luxury vehicle, the soft leather seats feeling surreal beneath her, she saw movement at the house. Uncle Richard had come back to the window, his face pressed against the glass, eyes wide with shock as he watched his niece get into a car that probably cost more than his annual salary. The driver closed Maya's door gently. David climbed into the front passenger seat. Where are we going? Maya asked. My home, David said. You'll have your own room, access to whatever you need, and time to figure out your next steps. No strings attached, just a safe place to land. As the car pulled away from the curb, Maya watched her old life shrink in the rearview mirror. She had no idea that her real challenges were only just beginning. The car glided through Atlanta's streets, moving from Maya's modest neighborhood to areas she'd only seen in magazines. Buildings grew taller, streets grew cleaner, and the houses transformed into estates. Maya sat in silence, clutching her backpack like a lifeline. Every few seconds, she glanced at David Chun, half expecting him to turn around and admit this was all an elaborate prank. But David sat calmly in the front seat, occasionally typing on his phone, completely at ease. We'll be there in about 10 minutes, he said without turning around. Are you hungry? We can have the chef prepare something. Chef? Maya's voice came out as a squeak. David chuckled. Yes, though I should warn you, Mrs. Kim will probably cook enough food for 10 people. She always does when I bring guests. Maya didn't know what to say to that. Chef, guests. This was a world so far removed from her reality that it felt like science fiction. The car turned into a private drive, and massive iron gates opened automatically. Maya pressed her face to the window, watching as they entered what could only be described as an estate. Manicured lawns stretched in every direction. Lights illuminated walking paths. A fountain, an actual fountain, sparkled in the center of a circular driveway. This is your house. Maya breathed. Home, David corrected gently. And for now, it's yours too. The car stopped in front of a modern mansion, all glass and clean lines, looking like something from an architecture magazine. Staff members emerged, standing at attention. David exited first and opened Maya's door himself. Welcome, he said. Maya stepped out, her worn sneakers touching pristine stone pavers. A woman in her 50s approached, her face kind and welcoming. Mr. Chun, welcome back, she said with a slight accent. Mrs. Kim, this is Maya Foster. She'll be staying with us. Please prepare the blue guest suite, and he glanced at Maya's thin frame. Something warm to eat. Of course, Mrs. Kim said, smiling at Maya. Welcome, dear. You look exhausted. Come, let's get you settled. Before Maya could respond, Mrs. Kim gently took her backpack and guided her into the house. The interior was breathtaking. High ceilings, modern art on the walls, furniture that looked too expensive to sit on. But Mrs. Kim led her past all of it, chattering in a motherly way. You must be hungry, yes? Mr. Chen didn't tell me he was bringing someone, but that's okay. I always make extra. Do you like Korean food? Never mind. I'll make a variety. You're so thin. When did you last eat properly? Maya found herself relaxing slightly. Mrs. Kim's warmth felt genuine, familiar in a way that reminded her of her own mother. They climbed a wide staircase to the second floor, walking down a hallway lined with windows that overlooked the gardens. Mrs. Kim opened a door to reveal a bedroom that was bigger than Maya's entire storage room space at her uncle's house. A king-size bed with fluffy white linens. A sitting area with a couch and television. A desk by the window. An attached bathroom visible through another door. This is for me, Maya whispered. Yes, dear. Mr. Chun said to make you comfortable. The bathroom has fresh towels, toiletries, everything you need. Why don't you shower while I prepare food? Take your time. Mrs. Kim set Maya's backpack on the bed and squeezed her shoulder gently before leaving. Alone in the room, Maya finally let herself break down. She sank onto the bed, so soft it felt like floating, and sobbed. All the fear, anger, and confusion of the past few hours poured out of her. Her parents were gone. Her uncle had abandoned her. Her entire life had collapsed in a single evening. But somehow, impossibly, she'd landed here. In this beautiful room, with people being kind to her. Was this real? Could this last? After crying herself empty, Maya stood and explored the bathroom. It was larger than her old bedroom, with a rainfall shower, heated floors, and more products than she'd ever seen in one place. The hot water felt like heaven. Maya stood under the spray for a long time, watching the stress and dirt of her old life wash away down the drain. When she emerged, clean and wrapped in the softest bathrobe she'd ever touched, she found fresh clothes laid out on the bed. Simple but nice, sweatpants and a t-shirt that somehow looked expensive. A soft knock came at the door. Come in, Maya called. Mrs. Kim entered with a tray. I brought you some soup, rice, and bulgogi. Eat, rest. Tomorrow will be a big day. What's happening tomorrow? Maya asked. Mrs. Kim smiled mysteriously. Mr. Chin will explain. For now, just eat and sleep. You're safe here. After Mrs. Kim left, Maya sat at the desk and ate. The food was delicious, better than anything she'd tasted in years. Through the window, she could see the city lights of Atlanta twinkling in the distance. Somewhere out there was her uncle's house. Her old life. But here, in this room, in this impossible situation, Maya felt something she hadn't felt in 3 years. Hope. Maya woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. For a confused moment, she didn't know where she was. Then it all came rushing back. The homeless man, Uncle Richard throwing her out, David Chen's revelation. She sat up in the impossibly comfortable bed and checked her phone. 7:42 a.m. 17 missed calls from Uncle Richard. 12 text messages. Her finger hovered over the messages, then she set the phone down. She wasn't ready for that yet. A gentle knock sounded at the door. Come in, Maya called. Mrs. Kim entered with a warm smile and another tray. Good morning. I brought breakfast. Mr. Chin would like to speak with you at 9 o'clock, if you're feeling up to it. Yes, of course, Maya said. Mrs. Kim, is this real? Am I really supposed to be here? Mrs. Kim set down the tray and sat on the edge of the bed. Let me tell you something about Mr. Chun. He is a good man, but a lonely one. His success came fast, and with it came many people who only wanted his money. 5 years ago, his wife left him. She said she married David Chun the dreamer, not David Chun the billionaire. Maya's eyes widened. She hadn't known he'd been married. Since then, Mrs. Kim continued, he's been searching for something. I think he's searching for proof that genuine people still exist. When he does his homeless test, he's really asking, would anyone love me If I had nothing? That's so sad, Maya whispered. Yes, but yesterday, you gave him an answer. Mrs. Kim patted Maya's hand. Now eat. You'll need your strength. At 9 o'clock sharp, Maya found her way downstairs to David's office. The room was massive, with bookshelves lining the walls and multiple computer monitors on a sleek desk. David sat in a chair by the window, looking more like the billionaire from the news article, clean-shaven, wearing expensive casual clothes, his hair neat. Good morning, Maya. Please sit. Maya sat across from him, nervous energy making her fidget. I imagine you have questions, David began. A million of them, Maya admitted. David smiled. Let me start by explaining what happens next. You're welcome to stay here as long as you need. No rent, no payment, nothing owed. Mrs. Kim will make sure you have everything you need. But why? Maya asked. I don't understand why you do this for me. Because you did something for me without expecting anything in return. That's rare. He leaned forward. But I also want to be clear about something. I'm not adopting you. I'm not becoming your guardian or parent. I'm simply offering you a safe place to land while you figure out your next steps. Maya nodded, appreciating his honesty. Now, tell me about this design apprenticeship, David said. Maya's face lit up. She told him about the Atlanta Design Collective, about her portfolio, about the interview opportunity she'd received just yesterday, though it felt like a lifetime ago. David listened intently, occasionally nodding. When she finished, he pulled out his phone and made a call. Marcus, it's David. Yes, I'm calling in that favor. I need you to make a call to the Atlanta Design Collective. There's a young woman named Maya Foster who's supposed to interview for their apprenticeship program. I want you to put in a good word. No, she earned it herself. I just want to make sure they know she's serious. Perfect. Thanks. He hung up and looked at Maya. Your interview is scheduled for next week. I've arranged for a car to take you. You didn't have to. I know, but I wanted to. Maya, here's what I believe. You have talent and kindness. That's a rare combination. All I'm doing is removing the obstacles so you can show the world what you're capable of. Maya felt tears forming. I don't know how to thank you. Thank me by succeeding, by staying true to who you are. David's expression grew more serious. But I need to warn you about something. What? Your uncle will come looking for you. Once he realizes who I am and where you are, he'll show up. Probably with lawyers, claiming he's your legal guardian and demanding your return. Maya's stomach dropped. Can he do that? You're 17. Technically, until you turn 18, he has legal authority over you. But David held up a hand. I have excellent lawyers too. If you want to stay here, I'll fight for you. But you need to understand, this might get ugly. Maya thought about Uncle Richard's red face, Aunt Patricia's cruel smile, the years of being treated like a servant in her own home. I want to stay, she said firmly. Good, David said. Then let's prepare for war. 3 days passed like a dream. Maya spent her mornings working on her design portfolio with a new laptop David provided. She spent her afternoons exploring the estate, reading in the library, and talking with Mrs. Kim about everything from cooking to life philosophy. For the first time in 3 years, Maya felt like she could breathe. Then, on the 4th morning it happened. Maya was sketching in the garden when she heard shouting from the front gate. Her pencil froze mid-stroke. She knew that voice. Uncle Richard, I demand to see my niece. I know she's in there. Maya. Maya's hand shook. She wanted to run inside, hide in her room, pretend this wasn't happening. But before she could move, David appeared beside her. It's okay, he said calmly. I was expecting this. Do you want to see him? No, Maya whispered. But I shouldn't I? Only if you're ready. Maya took a deep breath. I'm ready. David nodded to his security team, and moments later, Uncle Richard and Aunt Patricia were escorted through the gate. Uncle Richard's eyes were wild, his suit wrinkled like he'd slept in it. Aunt Patricia looked around the estate with barely concealed envy. Maya! Uncle Richard rushed forward, but David stepped between them. That's close enough, David said coolly. Uncle Richard's eyes finally focused on David, and recognition dawned. You're David Shun, the tech billionaire. I am. What are you doing with my niece? Uncle Richard's voice took on a wheedling tone. There must be some misunderstanding. Maya, sweetheart, come home. We can talk about this. Don't call me sweetheart, Maya said, surprised by the steadiness in her own voice. You threw me out. You said I was disrespectful and ungrateful. I was angry, Uncle Richard said, his tone shifting to apologetic. We both said things we didn't mean. Family fights, that's all. But you belong at home with us. With you? Maya's voice rose. You mean doing your laundry? Cooking your meals? Being your unpaid servant? Aunt Patricia flinched but said nothing. Now, Maya, that's not fair, Uncle Richard began. Isn't it? David interrupted. Mr. Foster, I've done some research on you in the past few days. Your brother, Maya's father, left his house and all his assets to Maya in his will. Yet somehow, you've been living there for 3 years, treating Maya like hired help and not paying her a cent. Uncle Richard's face went red. That's family business. It's exploitation, David said flatly. And it ends now? You can't keep her. Uncle Richard shouted. She's 17. She's a minor. I'm her legal guardian. Are you? David pulled out his phone and showed Uncle Richard something on the screen. Because according to your brother's will, guardianship of Maya was designated to her maternal grandmother, Evelyn Foster. Not you. Uncle Richard's face went pale. I spoke with Evelyn yesterday, David continued. She lives in Florida and had no idea Maya was even living with you. She thought Maya was thriving. She had no idea you'd taken over the house and treated her granddaughter like a servant. That old woman has dementia. Uncle Richard sputtered. She can't. Her doctors say she's completely competent, David said. And she's very interested in signing guardianship over to me temporarily until Maya turns 18 in 6 months. Maya's jaw dropped. David had been working on this? Uncle Richard looked like he might explode. This is kidnapping. I'll call the police. Please do, David said calmly. I'd love to explain to them how you've been living in a house that legally belongs to Maya, charging her rent through labor, and preventing her from pursuing educational opportunities. The fight drained out of Uncle Richard. He looked at Maya with something like hatred. You ungrateful little. Stop, Maya said, her voice cutting through the air. Just stop. I gave you 3 years of my life. I cooked, cleaned, and endured your cruelty because I had nowhere else to go. But I'm done. You're not my family. You never were. Aunt Patricia finally spoke, her voice bitter. You'll regret this. People like you always do. You think you're special now? You think this rich man actually cares about you? Maya looked her aunt in the eye. I think he treats me better in 4 days than you did in 3 years. And that says everything. David gestured to his security team. Please escort Mr. and Mrs. Foster off the property. As they were led away, Uncle Richard turned back one last time. You'll come crawling back. When he gets tired of you, when this all falls apart, don't come knocking on my door. I won't, Maya said quietly. Goodbye, Uncle Richard. The gate closed behind them. Maya's legs felt weak, and she sank onto a nearby bench. David sat beside her. That was harder than I expected, Maya admitted. You did well, David said. You stood up for yourself. You really talked to my grandmother? I did. She's a lovely woman. She cried when I told her how you'd been living. She wants to see you when you're ready. Fresh tears spilled down Maya's cheeks. My parents used to take me to visit her every summer. After they died, Uncle Richard said she was too sick for visitors. He lied, David said gently. She's been wanting to see you for 3 years. Maya covered her face with her hands and sobbed. David sat quietly beside her, giving her space to process everything. Finally, Maya wiped her eyes. Why are you really doing all this? Please, I need to understand. David was quiet for a long moment. When I was building my first company, I was 22 and completely broke. I'd maxed out my credit cards. My apartment was about to be foreclosed, and I hadn't eaten a real meal in days. He stared at the fountain in front of them. I was sitting outside a grocery store, trying to figure out if I should give up and go back to my parents in Taiwan. A woman came out, saw me, and brought me a bag of groceries. She didn't know me, didn't ask questions, just said, "You look like you could use a good meal." Maya listened intently. That woman was Linda Martinez. She worked as a cashier in that store, made minimum wage, had 3 kids of her own to feed, but she saw someone in need and helped anyway. David's voice grew thick with emotion. 2 years later, my company took off. I went back to thank her, to repay her kindness 1,000 times over. But she died 6 months earlier from cancer. Her family was drowning in medical debt. "Oh no," Maya whispered. "I paid off their debt, set up college fund for her kids, but it never felt like enough. I never got to tell her that her kindness saved my life, not just physically, but mentally. She reminded me that good people exist." David looked at Maya. "So now, once a month, I go out as a homeless man. I'm not testing humanity as much as I'm searching for people like Linda. People like you. Because the world needs more of you, and I have the resources to help you thrive." Maya understood now. "I'm not Linda." "No," David agreed. "But you're someone who gave away their last meal to a stranger. And in my experience, people like that change the world, if given the chance." 6 months passed like pages, turning in a book Maya never wanted to end. She turned 18 in March, celebrated with Mrs. Kim's homemade cake and a small gathering of the few friends she'd made at her new school. David had enrolled her in a private academy where she could finish her senior year while also taking advanced design courses. The Atlanta Design Collective interview had gone better than she dreamed. Not only did they accept her into their apprenticeship program, but they'd been so impressed with her portfolio that they offered her a part-time position with a real salary. Maya was making her own money for the first time in her life. But the biggest change was internal. The girl who'd once whispered apologies and kept her eyes down now walked with her head high. She spoke up in meetings. She defended her design choices. She found her voice. David watched her transformation with quiet pride, like a gardener watching a plant finally bloom after years of drought. One evening, as Maya worked late in the estate's design studio, a room David had converted specifically for her, he knocked on the open door. "Got a minute?" he asked. "Always," Maya said, spinning in her chair. "What's up?" David held out an envelope. "This came for you today." Maya took it curious. The return address made her heart stop. Foster and Associates legal firm. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a letter from a lawyer, explaining that her parents' house, the one Uncle Richard had been living in, was legally hers now that she was 18. The letter outlined her options. She could sell it, move back in, or continue renting it out. Uncle Richard had been formally evicted 2 weeks ago. "I don't know what to do," Maya admitted. "What do you want to do?" David asked. Maya thought about the house. Her childhood bedroom. The kitchen where her mother taught her to cook. The backyard where her father pushed her on the swing set. But she also remembered the past 3 years. The cruelty. The pain. The version of herself she'd become in that house. "I want to sell it," she said finally. "I can't live there. Too many bad memories now." But she paused, an idea forming. "Could I use the money to start something?" "Like what?" "A scholarship fund. For teenagers in foster care or living in difficult situations. Kids who want to pursue creative careers but can't afford the software, equipment, or education." David's face broke into a genuine smile. "Maya Foster, you never stop surprising me. My parents taught me that kindness comes back," Maya said. "You've shown me that's true. Now I want to pass it forward." David pulled out his phone. "What if I match whatever you raise? Dollar for dollar." Maya's eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Completely. Let's call it the Linda Martinez Memorial Scholarship Fund." Tears gathered in Maya's eyes. She'd like that. Over the next few months, Maya threw herself into the project. She sold her parents' house for $280,000, more than she'd expected. With David matching her contribution, they had over $500,000 to start the scholarship fund. Maya designed the website herself, created all the promotional materials, and even gave interviews to local news stations. The story of the girl who was kicked out for helping a homeless man, only to be saved by that same homeless billionaire, captured people's imagination. Donations poured in from around the country. But success brought unexpected attention. One afternoon, Maya received an email that made her blood run cold. The subject line read, "We need to talk about your little charity." It was from someone named Victoria Cross, and it included a link to a news article with the headline, "David Chin's new pet project. Charity or publicity stunt?" Maya clicked the link with shaking hands. The article was brutal. It accused David of using Maya's story for positive press. It questioned whether Maya was truly qualified to run a scholarship fund. It even insinuated that their relationship might be inappropriate. The writer? A journalist named Victoria Cross who, according to her bio, specialized in exposing the truth behind billionaire philanthropy. Maya felt sick. She'd worked so hard. The scholarship fund was real, genuine, something she believed in. How could someone twist it into something ugly? She found David in his office and showed him the article. He read it carefully, his expression darkening. Victoria Cross. You know her? Unfortunately, yes. She's been trying to write a hit piece on me for years. She believes all wealthy people are inherently corrupt, and she makes it her mission to prove it. What do we do? Maya asked. We ignore her, David said. The work speaks for itself. But 2 days later, Victoria Cross showed up at the estate's gate, camera crew in tow, demanding an interview. And she wasn't alone. Standing beside her, looking smug and vengeful, was Aunt Patricia. Maya watched from her bedroom window as Victoria Cross and Aunt Patricia stood at the gate, the camera crew filming everything. Her stomach churned. Mr. Chun. Victoria's voice carried across the property. We just want to ask a few questions about your relationship with Maya Foster. David appeared beside Maya at the window. Don't worry. They can't get past security. But Aunt Patricia's voice cut through next. Maya, I know you can hear me. Tell them the truth. Tell them how he manipulated you. Manipulated me? Maya's voice rose in disbelief. Is she serious? David's jaw tightened. This is a coordinated attack. They're trying to bait us into responding emotionally. He was right. Maya could see Victoria gesturing to her cameraman, making sure he captured every moment. This wasn't about truth. It was about creating a narrative. David's phone rang. He answered, listened, then hung up. My lawyers are on their way. In the meantime, we stay calm and say nothing. But over the next few days, staying calm became increasingly difficult. The article Victoria published was devastating. She'd interviewed Aunt Patricia, who painted Maya as a manipulative girl who'd seduced a vulnerable billionaire. Uncle Richard gave quotes about how Maya had always been troubled and how he'd tried his best to raise her after her parents died. The comments section exploded with judgment. Gold digger, obviously sleeping with him. This scholarship fund is just money laundering. Poor little rich girl playing victim. Maya stopped reading after the first dozen. Each word felt like a knife. Her phone buzzed constantly. Former classmates from her old school reached out, some supportive, many cruel. The design collective called an emergency meeting to discuss whether her involvement was damaging their reputation. Maya sat in her room, laptop closed, phone on silent, feeling the weight of the world crushing her. A knock came at the door. Mrs. Kim entered with tea and a sad smile. You haven't eaten today, she said gently. I'm not hungry. Mrs. Kim set down the tray and sat beside her. Can I tell you something about Mr. Chun? Maya nodded. 5 years ago, when his wife left, the media destroyed him. They said he was a workaholic who neglected his family. They said he cared more about money than love. They said terrible, terrible things. What did he do? He disappeared for 6 months. Went completely off the grid. When he came back, he was different, quieter, more careful about who he let into his life. That's when he started the homeless tests. Mrs. Kim took Maya's hand. The point is he survived the storm. And so will you. But only if you don't let them change who you are. Maya wiped her eyes. I just wanted to help people. How did it become this? Because good deeds make some people uncomfortable, Mrs. Kim said. They'd rather believe everyone has selfish motives. It makes them feel better about their own choices. That evening, Maya made a decision. She found David in his office. I want to do an interview, she said. David looked up, surprised. Maya, I don't think that's wise. Anything you say will be twisted. Then let them twist it. But I want people to hear the truth from me, not from Aunt Patricia and Uncle Richard. Who would interview you? Maya had already thought about this. Channel 5. Sarah Johnson. She's been covering the scholarship fund fairly. She requested an interview last week, and I ignored it. I want to accept now. David studied her carefully. You're sure? No, Maya admitted. But I'm tired of being silent. Silence feels like admitting they're right. David nodded slowly. Okay, but we do it my way. Live interview, no editing, and I'm there with you. Deal. 2 days later, Maya sat across from Sarah Johnson in the estate's living room. The lights were hot, the cameras intimidating, but Maya kept her hands steady in her lap. Maya, Sarah began gently, there have been serious allegations about your relationship with David Chun. How do you respond? Maya took a deep breath. David Chun saved my life, but not in the way people think. He didn't rescue me from poverty. He rescued me from giving up on myself. She told her story, the real story. Her parents' death, Uncle Richard's cruelty, the night she gave away her last meal and got thrown out, David's test, the truth about who he really was. He gave me a safe place when I had nowhere to go, Maya said, her voice strong. He believed in my talent when no one else did. And yes, he's wealthy, but that's not why I'm grateful. I'm grateful because he treated me with dignity. Sarah leaned forward. Your aunt claims this is all an elaborate scheme. My aunt, Maya interrupted, is the same woman who stood by silently while her husband threw a teenager out onto the street. She's the same woman who never once asked if I was okay. So forgive me if I don't value her opinion. The interview went viral within hours, but not everyone was convinced. Victoria Cross doubled down, publishing another article, Maya Foster's sob story, real or rehearsed? And then, just when Maya thought things couldn't get worse, she received an email that made her blood run cold. It was from someone claiming to be her father's former business partner. The subject line read, "Your father's debt is now yours, and I'm coming to collect." Maya stared at the email, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it. Your father's debt is now yours. She immediately showed it to David. His expression hardened as he read. This is from someone named Marcus Webb, Maya said, her voice shaking. I've never heard of him. My father never mentioned any business partner. David was already on his phone, calling someone. I need you to run a background check on Marcus Webb. Yes, immediately. Connection to Robert Foster. I'll send you the email. He hung up and looked at Maya. Don't respond to this. It could be a scam, or worse, it could be legitimate. Legitimate. Maya felt dizzy. How can my father have debts I don't know about? If he had business ventures, there might be contracts or obligations that survived his death. But we need facts before we panic. Within 3 hours, David's investigator called back. Maya sat beside David as he put the phone on speaker. Marcus Webb is real, the investigator said. He and Robert Foster were co-investors in a commercial real estate project 10 years ago. The project failed. According to the paperwork, both men were liable for losses totaling $340,000. Maya gasped. $340,000. Yes, Marcus Webb paid his half. Robert Foster died before paying his. But Maya was a child when her father died, David said sharply. Surely the debt doesn't transfer. Normally no, but Robert signed a personal guarantee. And there's a clause stating that in the event of his death, the debt transfers to his estate, which Maya inherited when she turned 18. Maya felt like she might throw up. I don't have that kind of money, even with the house sale. There's more, the investigator continued. Marcus Webb filed a lawsuit 3 days ago. He's claiming Maya is trying to avoid the debt by hiding behind David Chen's wealth. That's insane. Maya cried. I didn't even know about this. He scheduled a press conference for tomorrow, the investigator said. He's going to publicly demand payment. After the call ended, Maya put her head in her hands. This is it. This is how it all falls apart. The scholarship fund, my reputation, everything. David was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised her. How much money is in your personal account? From my job at the Design Collective? Maybe $8,000. Why? And how much did you make from selling your parents' house? I put it all into the scholarship fund. All of it. Yes. Every penny. I thought that's what my parents would want. David smiled. Not a happy smile, but a knowing one. Maya, do you understand what you just told me? That I'm an idiot who can't pay back a massive debt. No. You told me that when given a choice between keeping money for yourself and helping others, you chose others. Even though you grew up with nothing. Even though you've been homeless. You still gave it away. Maya didn't understand where he was going with this. David leaned forward. Tomorrow, Marcus Webb is going to stand in front of cameras and paint you as a spoiled girl living in luxury, while refusing to pay your father's debts. He's going to say you're hiding behind me. I'm not hiding. I know. So let's prove it. David's eyes gleamed with an idea. We're going to that press conference, and you're going to tell the truth. The next morning, Marcus Webb stood outside a downtown office building. Reporters gathered around him. He was a heavy-set man in an expensive suit, with the confident air of someone who knew he was about to win. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus began, I'm here today to discuss a grave injustice. 10 years ago, my friend Robert Foster and I invested in a project together. When that project failed, I paid my share of the losses, $170,000. Robert promised to pay his share, but he died before he could. He paused dramatically. Now his daughter, Maya Foster, has inherited everything, including this debt. But instead of honoring her father's obligation, she's living in a billionaire's mansion, spending money on vanity projects, and ignoring my attempts to collect what's legally owed. A reporter raised her hand. Mr. Webb, Maya Foster is only 18. Old enough to inherit property. Marcus cut her off. Old enough to run a scholarship fund. Old enough to be responsible for her father's debts. Is she? A voice called from the back of the crowd. The reporters turned. Maya and David walked through the crowd together. Marcus's confident expression faltered. Miss Foster, I didn't expect you to face you, Maya said, stepping forward. She looked directly at the cameras. My name is Maya Foster. My father was Robert Foster, and yes, it's true that he owed money when he died. Marcus smiled, thinking he'd won. Then Maya continued. It's also true that when I turned 18, I inherited my parents' house. I sold that house for $280,000. Do you know what I did with that money, Mr. Webb? Marcus's smile faded. I gave it all away. Every single penny went into a scholarship fund for kids who grew up like me, with nothing. So you're right about one thing. I can't pay you. She stepped closer to Marcus, her voice steady and strong. But here's what you didn't mention in your press conference. My father died 10 years ago. You waited until I turned 18 and inherited property to file your lawsuit. For 10 years, you said nothing. You didn't help me when Uncle Richard threw me out. You didn't help me when I was sleeping on the streets. You waited until I had something, and then you came to take it. The cameras flashed rapidly. So here's my offer, Mr. Webb. I'll pay you back every penny my father owed you. But it won't be today, or next month, or next year. It'll be when I've earned it myself, through my own work on my own terms. And when I do pay you, everyone will know that I did it with money I earned, not money I borrowed from someone else. She turned to the cameras. My father taught me to honor my debts. But he also taught me that how you collect a debt says as much about your character as how you pay it. Mr. Webb, you'll get your money, but you won't get my dignity. The crowd erupted in questions. Marcus Webb stood frozen, his moment of triumph stolen. David stepped forward and handed Marcus an envelope. That's a payment plan drafted by my lawyers. Maya will pay you $2,000 per month from her salary until the debt is cleared. If you refuse, we'll see you in court. Marcus looked at the envelope, then at the cameras, then at Maya. He was trapped. If he refused, he looked like a bully targeting a teenager. If he accepted, he'd have to wait years for his money. Fine, he muttered, snatching the envelope. As Maya and David walked away, a reporter called out, Maya, does this mean the scholarship fund is finished? Maya turned back. No, the scholarship fund continues. Because it was never about my money. It was about my parents' values. And those can't be taken away. For years later, Maya stood in front of a floor-to-ceiling window in the sleek downtown office of Foster Designs, her own company. At 22, she was the youngest black female founder in Atlanta's tech design scene, and her work spoke for itself. Her reflection in the glass showed a woman completely transformed from that scared 17-year-old. Professional blazer, natural hair styled in elegant locks, confidence in her posture. But if you looked closely, you could still see the same kindness in her eyes. Behind her, her team of 5 designers worked on campaigns for clients ranging from startups to Fortune 500 companies. The walls displayed her award-winning work, logos, brand identities, digital campaigns that had won national recognition. On her desk sat a framed photo, Maya with David Chun at her college graduation, both smiling proudly. Her phone buzzed. A reminder, Scholarship Fund Gala tonight, 7 p.m. Maya smiled. Tonight was the annual fundraiser for the Linda Martinez Memorial Scholarship Fund, which had grown beyond her wildest dreams. They'd awarded over 200 scholarships in the past 4 years, helping kids pursue careers in art, design, music, and technology. And tonight they were announcing something special. That evening, Maya walked into the gala ballroom wearing an elegant emerald dress. The room was packed with donors, recipients, and supporters. She spotted David immediately. He was talking with a group of scholarship recipients, genuinely interested in their stories. Mrs. Kim waved from across the room, dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief. She always cried at these events. But Maya's attention was drawn to someone else, a woman standing near the entrance, looking uncomfortable in a dress that didn't quite fit. She looked to be in her mid-50s, with tired eyes and work-worn hands. Maya recognized something in that woman's posture. Uncertainty, the feeling of not belonging. She walked over. "Hi, I'm Maya Foster. Welcome." The woman's eyes widened. "You're Maya? Oh my goodness. I'm Teresa Martinez. Linda Martinez was my mother." Maya's breath caught. "Linda's daughter?" Teresa nodded, tears already forming. "Mr. Chun tracked me down a few months ago. Told me about the scholarship fund. About what my mother did for him all those years ago. I never knew she'd helped someone famous. She never told us." "That's because she didn't do it for recognition," Maya said gently. "She did it because she was kind. She was," Teresa whispered. "Even when we had nothing, she always found ways to help others. Sometimes I thought she was crazy for it." Maya took Teresa's hand. "Your mother's kindness created all of this. Every scholarship, every kid whose life changed because they got a chance they wouldn't have had. That's your mother's legacy." Teresa wiped her eyes. "Thank you for honoring her." The gala began with speeches from scholarship recipients sharing their success stories. A young man who'd used his scholarship to study film production and now worked for Netflix. A woman who'd become a graphic novelist. A musician who'd just signed with a major label. Then David took the stage. 4 years ago, he said, a 17-year-old girl gave away her last meal to a stranger who turned out to be me. That act of kindness changed both our lives. Tonight, I'm proud to announce that the Linda Martinez Memorial Scholarship Fund has reached a major milestone. He gestured to the screen behind him, where numbers appeared. $5.2 million raised. The crowd erupted in applause. "But that's not all," David continued. "Tonight, I want to announce our newest board member, who will help guide the fund's future. She's someone who understands what it means to struggle, to persevere, and to never lose your kindness even when the world is cruel. Please welcome Maya Foster." Maya walked onto the stage, overwhelmed by the standing ovation. She took the microphone, her hand steady now. "When I was 17, I thought my life was over. I'd lost everything, my parents, my home, my hope. But then something happened. I chose kindness over survival. I gave away my last meal, not because I was noble, but because I couldn't stand the thought of someone going hungry." She paused, looking out at the crowd. "That choice led me here. To all of you. To this moment. And I want every young person watching this to know, your circumstances don't define you. Your kindness does. Your integrity does. Your refusal to let cruelty make you cruel. That defines you." As Maya spoke, she noticed movement at the back of the room. 2 people had entered late, standing in the shadows by the door. Uncle Richard and Aunt Patricia. They looked older, diminished somehow. Aunt Patricia had tears on her cheeks. Uncle Richard's shoulders were slumped in what might have been shame. Maya's voice didn't waver. "I'm not here to tell you that kindness is easy or that it always pays off right away. Sometimes it costs you everything. But I'm here to tell you that it's worth it. Because kindness connects us. It reminds us we're human. It changes the world one small act at a time." After her speech, after the applause, after dozens of people congratulated her, Maya found herself alone for a moment in the hallway. That's when Uncle Richard approached. "Maya," he said quietly, "could we talk?" Maya looked at him. This man who'd made her life miserable, who'd thrown her out, who'd lied about her to the press. She could say no. She had every right. Instead, she said 5 minutes. They found a quiet corner. Aunt Patricia stood back, uncertain. I don't expect forgiveness, Uncle Richard began. I was cruel to you. I took advantage of you. His voice cracked. I was jealous of your parents. My brother always had everything I wanted: success, a beautiful family, respect. When he died, I thought I finally had my chance. But all I did was destroy the one good thing he left behind. Maya said nothing. I watched you tonight, Uncle Richard continued. I saw what you become, and I realized you're exactly like your father. Kind, strong, better than the people around you deserve. Why are you here? Maya asked. To tell you I'm sorry, and to tell you that I paid Marcus Webb. Maya's eyes widened. What? The rest of your father's debt. I paid it off last month. It was my fault that debt existed anyway. I was your father's financial advisor. I should have warned him away from that investment. Instead, I encouraged it because I wanted a cut of the profits. He pulled out an envelope and handed it to Maya. This is a check for $58,000. It's everything I made from renting out your parents' house after you left. It should have gone to you. It's yours now. Maya took the envelope, stunned. I don't expect this to change anything between us, Uncle Richard said. I just needed to do one decent thing. Your mother, she was right about kindness. It does pay back, but sometimes it takes seeing someone like you to remember that. He turned to leave, then stopped. For what it's worth, your parents would be incredibly proud of you. After he left, Maya stood alone with the envelope, processing everything. Then David appeared beside her. You okay? He asked. I think so, Maya said. That was unexpected. What will you do with the money? Maya looked at the envelope, then at the ballroom where the gala was still happening, where scholarship recipients were laughing and celebrating their futures. I'll add it to the fund, she said, and I'll name the next scholarship after my parents, Robert and Jennifer Foster. David smiled. Perfect. As they walked back toward the ballroom, Maya stopped. David, I need to ask you something I've wanted to ask for 4 years. What's that? Do you still do the homeless test? Do you still go out there? David's expression grew thoughtful. No, I stopped after I met you. Why? Because you answer my question. Good people still exist. Kindness still matters. I don't need to keep testing anymore. He paused. But I'll tell you something else. That test changed me as much as it changed you. It reminded me why I started all of this in the first place. Maya nodded, understanding. Come on, David said. There's someone I want you to meet. A young man named Jason. He just received our scholarship. He's 17, living in his car, and dreams of becoming a software engineer. Maya's eyes lit up. Let's go. As they walked back into the gala together, Maya felt something settle in her chest. Peace, gratitude, purpose. 4 years ago, she'd been kicked out for helping a stranger. Today, she was a successful businesswoman, scholarship board member, and advocate for young people who'd grown up like she had, with nothing but dreams and determination. Her mother had been right all along. Kindness pays back. It just doesn't always happen on our timeline. And sometimes, the payment comes in forms we never expected, not in money or fame, but in the privilege of helping others the way we were once helped, in becoming the person we needed when we were at our lowest, in breaking cycles instead of perpetuating them. Maya looked around the ballroom one more time, at the scholarship recipients, at David, at Mrs. Kim, at Teresa Martinez holding her mother's photo with pride. This was her family now, not bound by blood, but by kindness, purpose, and a shared belief that good still exists in the world. And she was just getting started. The end. Thank you for joining us on Maya's incredible journey from being kicked out to becoming one of the most inspiring young women in America. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories, and share this with someone who needs to hear that kindness matters. Drop a comment below telling us your favorite moment from Maya's story, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss our next upload. Remember, your circumstances don't define you. Your character does. Until next time, stay kind, stay strong, and never stop believing in the power of compassion. See you in the next story.